not producing those bags, but when the bags were produced, like I didn't want too many covers and all that stuff on it. So we've been really conscientious of that. But I think the point is that sustainability should not be your idea of selling the product. What's inside the bag, once you taste it, is the one that's going to bring the person back. I'm pretty sure that if somebody said, okay, here's a sustainable product, but it tastes really bad, anybody's going to buy that. No. I think the product has to make sense inside. The food, the passion, the love behind that food that has been created in that bag has to resonate. And then all the other things matter, I think.
First things first, it has to taste good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask each of you actually sort of going down the road, starting maybe with you, Vikram, first. Have you developed any codes of conduct that request your suppliers to comply with sustainability? Or is that to come?
I'm actually still looking for lots of suppliers. I have not created that. I've created a code of conduct amongst our own selves to say, wherever we buy our products from, we should know. So our chickens are coming from Rostam Farms, for example, our lamb and pork. So we are making a conscious effort of within our own organization, but not to the suppliers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Bill?
so because that's part of our branding in terms of the free-run layer chickens or free-run cows. So we have relationships with the growers or the producers. And so that would be kind of a key part of it in terms of the supply of the milk and the eggs and the products. And yeah, so it's...
So you have that in place?
Absolutely, and it's more because we're, not that we control it, but we manage the feed formulations, and the farms have to be a certain format to be regulated.
Part of yours, okay. Richard?
We buy from about 2,000 suppliers in maybe 30, 40 countries, so it's a big challenge. And some of them have very different cultures from what we talk about here in terms of, well, many things, but we tend to start with safety and quality. I'm sure you're glad to hear that. And then we talk about sustainability, because actually that's still a big deal. So when we start, even if you talk to a US supplier of agricultural material, too often we find things we're unhappy with when we go and audit their facilities on basic, safety and quality control requirements. So that does rather dominate the conversation. And when we go to China, that really dominates the conversation. So we're not very far along in sustainability, because we're eating up so much effort controlling quality and safety further back in the chain, because that's what's expected of us before sustainability at this point.
So a maturing thing, a maturing process. Can you explain the process and challenges that processors experience when entering the Canadian retail sector, and the differences among small local retailers, for example, a Stong's, regional players like a Save-On, or national players like a Safeway or Costco? Would like to go first?
Well, so we're talking about Stong's or Choices or Whole Foods. When we first opened the restaurant up, obviously, when they knew of the restaurant, and then when we were ready to serve this product out, I would go and speak to the dairy lead, or speak to the owner, or the person who's in charge of it, and gave them a product and said, taste it and see what you think of it, and do you think this is something that you would be interested in carrying? I never went in with the attitude and saying, well, this is a niche that I'm going to create, or this is something unique that you can, your restaurant or your Choices market is going to be a little different. I never went in with that attitude. I just went with the attitude that this is the food that I've cooked, and rather than cooking that everybody coming to my restaurant to eat, I will just take this food and you can enjoy it in your homes, basically, and so you can sell it. So I never went into those, but now I am learning when I'm dealing with these bigger chains and stuff like that. It's a total different ballgame altogether. I'm just totally overwhelmed by it.
You're just getting into it, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my god.
I think John did a pretty good job talking about targeting your customer, which is really, in our case, the retailer. We found, for example, the choices in Whole Foods, obviously really identify with our vision and what we're trying to achieve. So it's actually been very easy once we've had them to the site and had those meetings to start to do business with them. With that being said, they're smaller organizations, so there's lots of challenges. For example, we need to set up demos for yogurt, which we're just listing, and not to name anybody, but some of them are not the most organized, so it just takes a lot of work from our marketing department. So those are some of the challenges. We were very fortunate about a year and a half or 2 years ago to get our eggs listed in Safeway in the Lower Mainland, and really it actually helped our business a lot. It just generated some volume with some margin, and we actually didn't have to pay a significant listing fee. And that's the other thing too, is with the bigger players have higher expectations with respect to listing fees. They've already been pushing on price, for example. So we've got some eggs going we have some in the Overweighty Food Group Save On stores, and there's 4 stores in Vancouver starting next week. But in those cases, we're having to pay a listing fee. We have to be a little bit tighter on the pricing. So yeah, I think you're going to have just different experience based on John's comments. We're going to be able to get a bit more margin. You might have a better fit with those more niche markets versus a Safeway or a Save On.
Richard, I'm sure your experience is quite different.
Well, I would say if you're in a specialty food business and you've got something which you're proud of and which you think is distinct and new and offers something in the market, the good news is that in the West, here in Canada, in the Western United States, you have a lot of potential customers. So you're a brave person if you want to start with Costco or Loblaw, when you could go and talk to a Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Fresh Market, Choices, IGA, Safeway's about as risky as I'd go. When you can start with all those wonderful people who have got significant interest and motivation to list new things, and where their offer matches up often with companies like Vij's or Nutriva here, and I'm sure lots of other very innovative food companies that we're lucky to have in BC. Don't go to the table with Loblaw unless you have some leverage. So you need to have a product that they have interest in, that has some demand. Otherwise, I'm not sure that would be easy to make a good business.
Thank you. Last question for each of you. What are your biggest challenges and your greatest opportunities in the next 3 years?
That's Meadow Fresh. So when you're working in collaboration with processors, there's a lot of things that happen unexpectedly. So I think that's just one example. I think we've been very fortunate with some of the success with the eggs, and the yogurt is just coming to market. So the challenges are just all the multifaceted aspects of the business, starting from the research and development to commercialization. We've sort of taken on a lot, and it's hard to you want to be focused. But I think at this stage of our business, we have to be involved in all those things. So I think an opportunity for us is, as we hopefully build a brand that's valued and recognized in the market, it will allow us to continue to focus and really do what my passion is, which is the innovation, the research and development, and marketing that brand, and then hopefully just developing bigger relationships nationally and so forth.
Richard, would you like to go next on your challenges and opportunities?
Well, we have two different sets of challenges. I think on the one hand, we've been fortunate to have a lot of success in our nut butter business, and we're trying to take it today. We're the third largest in North America. We'd like to be the largest. We signed an agreement to open a plant in Alabama yesterday. So, pretty soon we'll be the only guy who's got a plant in the lowest cost location in North America, a Canadian plant and a Western US plant, in order to serve every kind of customer there is for that type of product. So as we go on that journey, clearly there are a lot of things to kind of juggle. On the fruit and nut side of the business, where we're more of a Western player, the big challenge is trying to sail through the very stormy seas related to food pricing, which is now not just about the fact that prices are so much higher, but actually the supply is going to get real disrupted. So we're dealing a lot with defaults, we're dealing a lot with actual lack of availability on a lot of things, which is new, because people sort of used to think they could get something if they paid a price, but now it's kind of getting to be that when you can't have it. So that's going to be very much the main piece, I think, in that business, and it affects a lot of people who are dealing with food in North America today. There are big things ahead.
Vikram, opportunities and challenges.
Well, my biggest challenge has been the cash flow. To survive and to take this product, this is home cooked meal, into a bag and try to explain to people that this is home cooked meals has been a little bit of a challenge, but I still think once they open the bag and they taste it, I think eventually you feel that you're getting good quality product in there, and it is no different than when you have a good quality milk, when you have a good quality egg, when you have a good quality bread, you automatically know that it's a good quality product that you've eaten. That's been a little bit of a challenge. Opportunity, I think, the fact that Indian food is healthy, it's nutritious, it has all the medicinal value to it, the spices do. I think eventually down the road people will realize that, I should have some turmeric, for example, because it's good for my arthritis, it's, or Alzheimer's, or they all have medicinal value to them, and I think eventually people will realize that the bridging of this gap of having Indian food is part of their life. I don't like to say the word ethnic, because technically even French food is ethnic, because the only food that is not ethnic is the First Nations food, because we are all immigrants here, so we are all part of coming from somewhere else. So I don't want to use the word ethnic, but I'm saying is, and the other element that I think a great opportunity is that I have never promoted people saying, you must go out and buy bagged food. I'm saying is, cook your meals at home every day, if you can. Make your fresh food every day at home. But once in a blue moon, if you want to have a treat, and you don't have the time, and you've come, you worked all day, buy the bags, or buy something else, and enhance your experience of cooking. So I think that's the story that I've always been saying is, cook food at home, but also enhance it by having good. So it's no different than buying good tomato sauce, or buying good quality peanut butter, or buying good quality eggs, for example. So make all that stuff, but do a good quality product of it. So I think the biggest opportunity is that there's an awareness towards the food, the nutritional value to it, and maybe it's a West Coast thing. I mean, that's what I was quite surprised when I saw John. I thought more people would be spending more money on food and wine than you would spend it on anything else. I mean, that's no brainer for me. That's what I do in my household. More alcohol and more food.
Thank you, I'll drink to that. All right, I'd like to now see, we have a few minutes left, I think, and invite you from the floor. Are there any questions that you would like to ask our panel? And if you have a question for a particular person, if you could say that when you're asking. Otherwise, just address it generally to the panel. And I have a handheld mic if you think that you need that. Anybody have any questions?
This itsy, teeny, weeny feeling that processors have a challenge with Wawas.